Singapore was a British colony. And in the British Empire, and they said the sun never set on the British Empire, the British left behind multi-ethnic colonies in all parts of the world. In South America, you had a country called Guyana. In Europe, you had a country called Cyprus. In South Asia, you had a country called Sri Lanka. In Southeast Asia, you had a country like Singapore. In the Pacific, you had a country like Fiji. We were all multi-ethnic countries. What's interesting is that all the other multi-ethnic countries suffered from conflicts and tensions between the ethnic groups. Only Singapore was peaceful. So it shows that Singapore's success is truly exceptional. And I know this in a direct way because Singapore's population is 75% Chinese, 15% Malays who are Muslims predominantly, and about 8% Indians. And even among the Indian community, most of the Indians come from South India. I come from North India, from Sindh, which is now actually technically part of Pakistan. Sindhis are a minority within a minority in Singapore, and yet I was chosen to become the face of Singapore to the world when I became the ambassador of Singapore to the United Nations. It's very unusual for any country in the world to pick a member of a minority within a minority to become the ambassador to the UN. But it shows that Singapore has managed to avoid any kind of ethnic discrimination. And this was a result of the policies of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, Dr. Goh Keng Swee, and Mr. S. Rajaratnam, who emphasized that one of the consequences of adopting a meritocratic policy is that it didn't matter what was the color of your skin. It doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of your brain. And if you are good, you can be Chinese, you can be Malay, you can be Indian, you can be Eurasian, you'll be selected. And so that's very unusual. And of course, what's unusual about Singapore is that in many countries, the different ethnic groups fight over the language issue. But in Singapore, we have four official languages, English, Mandarin, Malay, Tamil. And the national language is the language of a minority, which is Malay, because we live in a Malay neighborhood also. So this gives everyone a sense of dignity to say my language is also recognized by my country when you go to school, right? And quite often in many countries, if you belong to an ethnic minority, you will feel the discrimination against you. And in Singapore schools, there's virtually no discrimination. And your child is promoted or brought up on the basis of his ability and not on the basis of his ethnic identity. And so that gives a sense of ownership of the country among all ethnic groups. So the ethnic Chinese community in Singapore, like the ethnic Malay community, like the ethnic Indian community, is one of the most blessed communities in the world because they have experienced greater progress in their lives than most ethnic groups have in any part of the world. The one ethnic group that has had difficulty achieving a higher stage of development has been the Malay community. But even their per capita income has increased significantly. And so what's interesting is that the Malays are a minority in Singapore and they are a majority in Malaysia. But the per capita income of the Malays in Singapore is higher than the per capita income of the Malays in Malaysia. That's a sign of progress that we have achieved in Singapore.